This morning I was talking to a couple friends of mine about the role of suffering in the life of a believer. We were studying through Second Timothy, and the topic of suffering comes up a lot in this book. So in chapter 1, in verse 8, Paul says to Timothy, share in suffering for the gospel. Down in verse 12, he's telling Timothy that he's suffering because of the gospel, because of his faithfulness to the gospel. In chapter 2, he says again to share in suffering. And in verse 8 or verse 9, he says he is suffering again because of the gospel. And in chapter 3, he says anyone who wants to live a godly life in Christ Jesus will be persecuted. There will be times of suffering for the gospel in the life of a believer. In chapter 4, in verse 5, he says to Timothy, endure suffering. So suffering is an element of what it means to be in a relationship with Jesus. And my fear is we've compromised the gospel in the sense that we've presented it to people, and we've delivered it to people in a way that's inconsistent, really, with the New Testament. It's easy to tell people, here's Jesus. Let me offer you Jesus because he can make your life better. And when you die, you can go to heaven. There are few people who would reject that gospel, but that isn't the whole gospel. If we're going to share the gospel with people, it is the responsibility of the person sharing to be sure that we're sharing the whole counsel of God, not just a small part of it. And telling people that Jesus can make their life better, and he can give them hope and peace and love and joy and all the things that they're missing. That is true, but that's not the whole gospel. That's not the whole counsel of God. That's a small part of it. So my encouragement to you, and really to myself, is we should examine the gospel that we're presenting to people to ensure that what we're sharing with people, what we're delivering to people, what we're offering people is the real Jesus. It's the real Jesus of the Bible. And the real Jesus of the Bible promises that those who pledge their allegiance to him, those who are unashamed about their connection to him, those who are choosing to walk in passionate obedience in the footsteps of Jesus, will endure suffering. It's just part of the package. And for us to present anything other than that would be compromising the gospel. So let's be faithful to share the gospel, but to share the whole gospel. And let people know up front that Jesus, you're going to suffer for following him, but he's worth it. He's worthy of everything that we have. He's worthy of our lives. He's worthy of any amount of suffering that we would experience in this life.